This is Due by Friday, a weekly challenge podcast with Alex Cox and Merlin Mann. This week's challenge, use an air fryer. Why did you just make a noise, may I ask?
Hello.
Hello.
I was trying, in a way I wasn't expecting you to acknowledge, I was trying to kind of organically simulate the number of seconds that the song plays before we start talking. And now, I'm not sure what people will hear. We'll find out. It's Due by Friday. It's a weekly challenge podcast.
Yeah.
Good job, by the way. You did it all in one. That was great.
I like every week a little treat at the beginning of the show when I relist it. I'm like, ooh, it's very exciting.
How do you mean?
Treats.
Because you don't know. Yeah, because now you don't know how it's going to start, huh?
Yeah, I am on the other end of it.
In media res, they call it.
I thought it was Memento Mori. Mistaken.
Let's see, Memento Mori. That means remember you're going to die, I think. And then then there's the guy who whispers in the guy's ear, "You are mortal. You are mortal. You are mortal."
Yes.
I think that was yeah. Man, I've had a crazy busy morning. I've learned so many things. I'm overwhelmed with information a little bit this morning. How are you?
Oh, I am overwhelmed with good information.
Oh, I would love to hear that. I learned about what did I learn about? I learned a very confusing fact about you ever heard of when they talk about knots? When you're like
yes.
and you know do you know what a knot is and what part of why it's confusing? Because a knot is it's so like you got it's nautical miles per hour is what a knot is.
Whoa! All right.
Oh, wait, are you okay? So are you with me on wait a minute, hang on. How did I never knew that? Because that's one of those things that's confusing. Because you're like, okay, well, people talk about numbers, and numbers can be so confusing. Alex, let's be honest. Is this a distance? Is this a time? Is this a length? Is this a volume? Is this a whatever? But then I found out, and knots, and what they do is they used to tie knots in a rope and let it out a little at a time to see how many nautical miles per hour they were going. But it only occurred to me this morning when I heard that the words sound kind of the same and it's confusing.
Okay, so there isn't necessarily a correlation between how sailors supposedly were creating these knots to just kind of, they were like boat hacks because there was really nothing else to do. And the last knot that was invented was, I believe, I'm not pulling the century out of my ass, pulling the year, 1845 was the last knot to be invented, which I just think...
What do you mean the last? Oh, you're talking about...
the type of rope.
Oh, no, Alex, It just got worse because now we got double... Wait, because you're talking about nautical knots, the kind of knots you tie with a line.
But you also... Don't you measure the speed of boats or sorry, the distance? See, I don't know how deep this goes. We probably shouldn't talk about this too much because it's really confusing. No, I see. Oh, now you did even better misunderstanding than I did. That's really good. Okay. And I didn't misunderstand. Rather, I was like, am I misunderstanding what I am misunderstanding?
You're talking about, a square knot, overhand knot, bowline. Those kinds of knots. Oh, it's so confusing. But the knots in a rope that they use for nautical miles they're not the knots that you think.
Okay.
They're not the knots of the 1800s. This is not your daddy's knot. And also remember that knot can mean nothing. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's not what I'm saying.
And when you said, do you know what a knot is? Immediately, of course, I did not think I hate it. Which is something I suppose you think I say a lot based on a program I listened to you guest on recently. But I thought of the device.
Odd way to cut up that paragraph.
Yep. The device a dog uses to help procreate.
A knot.
And that is because,
Is that a knot? What's a knot? I thought the knot was like a magazine you'd buy at the grocery store about getting married.
See, it's another one.
But remember, do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
Merlin,
there's not
yes.
as in exclamation mark, as in not this thing, but then there's also not as in I have not, as in I have nothing or none, or nil or null, as you say, which is not which is not the knot that knots the knot to make the longitude go, because that's a rate. It's not. It's a rate. It's a rate. Well, because how do you say? What do we even say when we talk about? What are we talking about when we talk about speed? You say usually miles per hour, which means every hour you go this many miles. And a knot is every hour you go this many nautical miles.
Oh, see, I just
they must be able to keep. You know what this is?
Things, but they mean so many things.
I know.
They mean too many things sometimes.
But they're not. Anyway, hey everybody, we're not going to talk about knots.
Not this week.
And then I just read about a thing called Pizza Hut Classic, which is this thing they're doing now where you could be driving along and you see a Pizza Hut and you're like, hey, that looks like a Pizza Hut from the 90s. And you pull in and it's basically they made Pizza Hut from the 90s, including the red plastic cups and the salad bar.
Okay. I have.
Isn't that a crazy idea?
Maybe it's because I do, and it might be because I just finished the most recent Chris Fleming special. Chris Fleming at the Palace.
Wait, does he mention Pizza Hut in that? I'm trying to remember.
He does mention the concept of nostalgia and how it was often a considered, like a little bit a form of like reverse hysteria of, that person's thinking about stuff that doesn't matter anymore a little bit.
His body is amazing to me. Can you believe he did that entire performance without needing a nap? How does he move so much?
He works out more in a single comedy set than I did all of February by far. But
that's how I feel like the beginning of the Blondie song.
Watching it.
That's how I feel about the beginning of the Blondie song, "Dreaming." The drummer plays this thing at the beginning of "Dreaming," where you know how it goes, dun dun down. He plays his drums in 15 seconds or more exercise than I've gotten since I was 9 years of age.
Maybe.
When I met you in a restaurant, you could tell I wasn't a debutante. And then the last piece of news that I have this week, I don't know why I'm telling you news. I was just killing time reading stuff. Trailer is out for a new season of Last One Laughing.
Which is a not quite a panel show, but sort of panel show. Not panel show.
I mean, it's full of panel people.
Yes, it's got panel people, but I found it more enjoyable than a panel show.
Yeah. All of those shows.
As much of a connoisseur.
No, sorry, I keep interrupting you. I end up saying this like, I don't know, once a month or so, but like it's that, all those, on the one hand, the positive way to put it is I've enjoyed a lot of panel show adjacent stuff. I enjoy more of it more as I get to know the people more and understand, like see this odd format more. But the converse or slightly negative way to put it is, boy, is this stuff ever hard to get into if it's new to you. Like, it's just, I continue to believe it must be really weird that I'm always talking about something like QI. The QI is not even the best example. I think 8 out of 10 cats is maybe one of the, or not Big Fat Quiz, but 8 out of 10 cats probably, where it's like, this is really more like lore and vibe than like panel show. You know what I mean? It's and you're like, wait, who are these people? What is this show for? Why does anyone know who these people are? But then, so the high level concept of, as you know, I'm telling our audience, of Last One Laughing is that a bunch of funny people from that world, British comedy mostly, try to, over 6 hours in a room together, try to make each other laugh. No one's allowed to laugh at other stuff. And I really enjoyed the first season. And guess who's back?
Is it Mr. Mortimer?
Cha boy is back. Bobby M, which is funny because I woke up this morning with Rosalind is a fucking nightmare in my head. And specifically the phrase Rosalind, geriatric athlete.
I think this is a bit of a me and like Jeffrey Epstein situation where someone will say, "Do you know anything about British panel shows?" I'm like, "Nah."
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. And then like 2 minutes later, you're like, "Oh dear, I know a lot more about this than I had realized." Compared to a normal person.
Of course I know about the Pokemon Go stop on the island. Who didn't? Come on.
On Jeffrey Epstein's island?
Yes.
Oh, so that's what you were referring to last week. I didn't know there was an. Does I don't understand. Does Nintendo decide where the stops and spinners go?
That's complicated. You can't. That's the
Wait,
issue.
I'm sorry. I meant to misunderstand that. Is Pokemon made by Nintendo? Shoot.
Hey everybody.
Hey everybody. Do you want to hear? Let's see. Okay, so can I tell you who it is?
Please.
Who all it is? Because they got some pretty good ones. Okay, I'm going to do this slightly out of order with how it's listed here. I think this could be very interesting. So there are two people whose names I don't recognize. The two names I don't recognize are Amy Gled Hill and it looks like Bimisola Ikumelu, maybe. Those are two names I don't know, and I do know all the other ones. Okay. And if you don't know these, it's okay. Okay. Returning champion. Bob Mortimer. Okay. Okay. You ready for the other big get for this one? Now this guy's a star. He just bought a castle. He's gay as fuck. Alan Carr.
Oh, I was close.
Oh, well, you thought
I would
Jimmy
like
Carr?
Alan Cumming to be in this universe.
Oh, it's
He's
a Traders
not,
with a
but
different Traders crossover.
Yeah, I like him to dip in. It would be nice.
But
It'd be like if Wario showed
as
up
you
in a
know,
Pokemon
I
game.
just think Alan Carr's charming. I love that one Graham Norton compilation. It's like an hour long of, and you can tell. I think they must have posted it after the Traders finale of the season he was on, because it's like Alan Carr from the Traders, funniest moments on Graham Norton, and you've watched it, right? Yeah, of course you have.
The Traders, yes.
Sorry, the Alan Carr bit compilation.
have
Where he
not,
tells his story about Adele, taking him and his husband.
There's a lot of Adele stories.
Here I go, dropping Adele's name again. Okay, so I got to keep at this. Okay, now some of these you'll know, some of these you won't know, and it's okay. Okay, so we got Bob Mortimer, the great Bob Mortimer. We got Alan Carr. Do you know Ramesh Ranganathan from Podcasts and Taskmaster? Just Google ROMESH.
No, I don't think so.
He's very funny, very deadpan. I think he's from one of the. I think he. I don't think he might be on season 1, but Ramesh is great. He's got a podcast. He's been in lots of places. Maisie Adam. We love don't we love Maisie Adam for season 20? You know Maisie from the North?
I do know, but I'm so excited to see the graphs on this one. Yes,
Mel
I know her, not her stats.
Mel
but-
Gadroich, who once again we all know from Taskmaster and from the good seasons of Bake Off. Sam Campbell. Sam Campbell, the guy from Australia, the guy who says to Greg Davis, "Are you a child of divorce?" He's the guy who does in the Champion of Champions 4. He does the very long rap about female comedians that should get more credit. Sam Campbell. Okay, moving on. Diane Morgan.
No.
Does that name ring a bell?
A little.
Philomena Kunk.
What's her haircut? I think I know these women mostly by haircuts.
Philomena Kunk.
What?
Philomena Kunk. Kunk on History. Kunk on Shakespeare. Kunk on from TV. Is that Charlie Booker show with the woman? You don't know Philomena Kunk. Okay, sorry. Okay, well, this did not go nearly as well as I expected.
No. I know the Kunkster.
Diane Morgan is
I
the
did
name of
not
the
know-
actor who plays Philomena Kunk.
I know, but I just wanted to say
I'm sorry. Well, I feel so bad sometimes. I want to laugh. I love laughing along with people, but there are times when the amount of laughter you're doing is confusing to me. So what are you laughing at?
It's
Oh, because
okay.
her name sounds like cunt?
No, it sounds a little bit like. Well, I guess so.
I think it's the combination of the sublime and the ridiculous. Like Philomena.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That sounds like somebody that like the subject of a Keats poem or something. And the Kunk. You ever seen an SNL commercial for? I love that SNL commercial for. Women want clothes that are made for them. That's why you should try Chonk. You ever seen Chonk? Clothes for women called Chonk.
I haven't seen Chonk, and that's why, like Conk. I like names that sound like they're part of the Law and Order SVU, like Dunk Dunk, whether or in the theme. Like I just
Sure.
like
That's a thought you've thought a lot.
Only like 3 times. Okay.
Yeah. No, I feel you. No, I think you like. I think
like
you
a
like those
certain way
kinds.
Doug is pronounced, like Doug. All right, I'm done.
Or we're having really bad latency, and I apologize. Or Dave. David puts seashells on the doorknobs. Company's coming. It's too late now. Burn the couch. We can't let anybody know people live here. Chris Fleming. Oh my God, his face. And how is he getting? Last thing. How does he get so much mileage out of basically just this one face that he does? He has this one face that he does that is just so funny. And it's the face that he does when he explains how he's trying to get the part of like an underclass woman who gets to go to the old woman. That's why he keeps his hair like that. It's we riding on horses. He's got that face. Or when he's like talking about driving the golf cart with when Tarzan's playing or like whatever. His face is just funny to me.
I think it's because there's a recognition from the people who experience not the making of the face, but they feel like they are making that face, whether out of trying too hard, usually in my case from guilt, or you've seen that face and you're like, oh, that person's trying for a thing and they're not pulling it off. And either way, whatever the joke is, it's fun.
In Showpig, when he's talking about, where's the new gal? When he gets contacted by people on Facebook, where's the new gal? He says, and you know how middle-aged people on their profile photo, it's just like a really zoomed in, blurry, their face at the beach making this, I think he's a delight. So I think that'll be fun. I mean, Maisie Adam, oh boy, she and Ed Gamble. I love the two of them. I love their chemistry. So that'll be a fun season. Romesh is a lot of fun. Romesh is very dry. He's sometimes on the panel you have like a really dry person. Romesh is really good. He's funny. He's got a great sense of humor, but he's really good at playing it straight. I think he might be in season 1. I feel like. See if I could do this. That would be Tim Key. You know what? I'm not gonna do this on the air because no one cares. Cares. How are you?
How do you know?
How do you know?
Do people say, Merlin, no one cares? Because you asked me, how do I know that people?
I don't think I've ever asked you that. Oh, I do ask you about other kinds of speculation, but I don't think I've asked you that often about whether people care. But I don't know.
Or what? But how do you know that people don't care?
I mean, how do I know? I mean, okay. So I think what you're trying to say. Oh my God, this is impossible. I'm so sorry. Is it raining there? No, is it? It's not raining, is it?
Oh, is it raining? It is about to. Yes.
Okay, we're getting some what I like to call rain bandwidth. When it rains.
Rain bandwidth is.
Rain bandwidth. That's the name of my new '70s NBC detective drama. Okay, pause. We're not stopping the show. Oh my God in heaven. We're not stopping the show, but I do have to say to you, I apologize. I am totally talking over you, and it's just because I think we might have like as much as like maybe even like a second or more of latency. And I apologize, and I will definitely for the rest of this try to be better. But just we need to be aware of that because I don't want to edit around this.
It's all right. Over. How do I know? I don't know, but I can speculate. I mean, certainly a part of it is I hear a voice in my head. And so I think what you're trying to say is you're trying to be a friend to me, I hope, and say like, hey, don't be too hard on yourself, little guy. Somebody cares. Just not many people, but don't worry. Somebody cares. I think that's what you're trying to say in a nice way. It's in terms of like empirically, how do I know that no one cares? I don't know that no one cares. But I feel like I have enough of a sense of the lay of the land to know that, like, sometimes it's hard to. Never mind. I don't want to go off on a rant. It's just difficult sometimes to know how much to pitch something, where, like,
like if I were an evangelist, like say for Christianity, like, you know, you got everything on your side because it's high stakes. It involves everyone. And you'd prefer that the entire population of Earth didn't go to hell forever, right? So like, you know, if you take that along with a pretty strong feeling that it's important and vital and you're following the mission, what do they call it? The Great Commission or whatever it is. Like if you're doing what he says in Acts and Romans and you go out and do that, like that's really cool. Like I don't need to be that for Taskmaster. That's above my pay grade. And so, I don't know, just sometimes what I do is I catch myself sometimes, and you can call this a bank shot, or you could call this having my head up my ass. It's all fine. But I do sometimes catch myself and go, oh no, maybe even hat on a hat a little bit. I'll catch myself and I go, oh no, you're in too deep on this bit. What you're saying would be amusing to somebody, but the Venn diagram of what people would need to know about, care about, and synthesize quickly would be frankly exhausting for anybody to do. I think that's kind of what I mean. Also, I'm just being self-deprecating because I'm from Ohio.
Okay.
No, I mean, no response.
Over. I don't have a response to that because you...
That was just a drive-by question?
Became...
Did you see me sitting on the corner?
And like, hey, buddy, why doesn't
I'm out there with my boys.
Don't you think anyone cares?
Omar coming. I wish I could whistle. I've lost. Oh, you know, it's a word you would hate. Do you know? Here's a word you'd hate. It's a noun that you would hate. And my favorite use of this word is in how supple one's lips can be, but it applies for lots of things. Lability. Isn't that kind of a gross word? Especially when you think about it with lips. Are you labile? Do you have lability?
Lability. I don't. All right, give me some context clues.
It just occurs to me we could turn this into an offensive joke too. It's a handy lability. Tunity. See, I feel like I used to have a lot more lability. My lips used to be more whistle friendly. Like I know there's a lot of people who I think Americans are expected to be able to know how to whistle. And I think not only that, I think most Americans outside of urban areas are expected to be able to know how to whistle in loud and interesting ways. And I used to be able to whistle okay. I mean, I can do a fake whistle. I have several whistles. This is my whistle for the most generic sound of the movie Titanic. Because that's that penny whistle, you know, from My Heart Will Go On.
That's the noise of the tragedy that was the Titanic.
But you know what I'm talking about though. Anytime you wanna, and it could be Riverdance. And I think on 3 occasions now, I've heard Chris Fleming talk about tearing his knee trying to do Riverdance. See, like that. But I can't whistle like Bing Crosby and shit. Like I can't just let it rip. And I sure can't whistle in loud and interesting ways. I've spent a fair amount of time trying to learn to whistle with my fingers because it seemed like something everybody else always made it look so easy. And now on top of it all, I've lost lability. Can you tell me about your history of whistling? Because I got a feeling you're not a whistler.
No. I have a deep insecurity around whistling because I have no idea where the idea that Americans are supposed to be good at whistling came from.
Challenge me on that. Do you know what I'm talking about, though? Doesn't it seem like it's something like, I don't know. I've watched a lot of TV and movies, and like there's just not that many things in other places where people like all whistle. And in America, I think especially in the middle part of the 20th century, it seems like everybody knew how to whistle.
I associate whistling with construction workers and people who work in large fields with dogs. So like if
Corgis?
You know, like yes, the doggy people, and you know, I picture yeah. But now that I think of it, I don't picture like a Jesus or a I don't picture any sort of biblical.
So you're asking the question, what would Jesus whistle?
What would Jesus whistle? I mean, he was more of an urban guy, not to.
I honestly don't. I don't know. I know a bunch of. I have this basically potato sack full of nouns about the New Testament and the Gospels that I mean I know about. There's you got Bethlehem and stuff, but like as much as I internalized a lot of the upshot of Christianity, some of the details are a little foggy. But he was the kind of guy, he hung out with people that everybody else considered outcasts, people with diseases, people who had jobs that were considered socially unacceptable, lepers and sex workers, and whatnot. One time he was doing one of his TED Talks and they lowered somebody through the ceiling. Did you know that?
So the
it might have been a TEDx. It might have just been TEDx Bethlehem.
I think it, unfortunately, in his life, he was relegated to TEDx, which,
Right. Is there a lower level? Is there like TED University or TED Junior or something like that?
I'm not sure.
TEDx is the regional one, right?
Yeah, it's the one they invite you to. I mean, we know what it is. You want to have something on your resume, and it's intentionally the X. I feel like they're like, we are intentionally for like our trademark TEDx. It's smaller because if you just glanced at it, it was great. It was almost like an MLM of the Davos people.
So you increase you fatten your downline by bringing in new TEDs. So you have like Son of Ted, Revenge of Ted, Return of the Ted, Night of the Living Ted title. You got all of those, but then a problem more, as you call it, handicap opportunity, is that was that they started doing the TEDx talks and people said, wait a minute, hang on. Maybe we should clear this up. A lot of people think the X means it's something to masturbate with or for or to or on. The X confuse them, and that's why we got that series called TED After Dark.
Literally, if anyone thought that, I would love to know how their brain works.
Apollo Robbins After Dark. Can you imagine that kind of thing? He's still one of my favorites. His TED Talk is still one of my favorites.
Apollo, I'm thinking of someone different.
We'll figure it out.
I'm thinking of the Pickpocket. Tony Robbins. Yep.
Oh, the guy with the jaw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a bone smasher.
He's a bone smasher. What's his armor class?
I don't know. I didn't dig.
Armor class is confusing because I think it goes backwards. It's like knots, but not. It's not. I'm not. I'm not nautical.
Huh.
Words are stupid. They're so stupid. We're just making sounds with our face and acting like that means anything. Alan Watts talks about this a lot.
I mean, don't writers? Is that kind of what you guys do? That's well, maybe you don't talk about it.
Absolutely. But like, if you think about it, think about being like, did you see Guys and Dolls?
Yeah, I have performed in Guys and Dolls. Yes.
Please tell me who you played. I mean, were you in like a chorus or a chorus or?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. In a single performance.
Do you sing like on those songs? Is Adelaide? Adelaide's the. I'm sorry. Adelaide's the gangster's girlfriend, right? Adelaide's Lament. Who's the Salvation Army woman? What's her name?
Oh God, I don't.
You know who I mean, though, right?
Yes.
And the one that then. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting. I'm bad with names today. The one that is it Frank Sinatra's
Not
character.
If they're British. He's like the rooster.
Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to go through the entire place. So, excuse me. I got the horse right here. His name is Paul Revere. Nathan Detroit. What's his name?
Yeah.
What's Frank Sinatra's character's name?
Is
it Nathan Detroit?
Damon? No, this guy
Damon Albarn.
Yes.
Okay, yes. Damon Albarn. I think it's that. But think about that lady. Okay, here's the thing: you're in the Salvation Army, and you're trying to help people, and ultimately, like your people do, I think very, very much to their credit, part of your mission, or your at least the translation I've heard is Paul's Great Commission. Go out there and do this stuff. So you go out there and help people. Like who are really at rock bottom. Not only are those great recruits for Christianity, but like you are doing something to help lesser people in a very Christ-like way that a lot of people could kind of skip over. But here's the thing, like what if you fucking hated poor people and druggy people? Like how would you weigh that against what you consider to be, well, maybe she just likes hanging out with homos. Maybe that's her kink. And like on that website, A League of Their Own, where people go and write fan fiction about Damon Albarn and the lady from Nathan Detroit. Can do. Now you know what that's called. Now wait, now what's the name of that song? Something for penny for tin horns. What's it called? Tin horns. It's got an unusual name.
Horn of her own. Yeah.
Nathan. Is it tin horn for whistle pops? What's it called? Tin horn. Guys and Dolls. Did you like Guys and Dolls as a play?
No,
it's got some pretty. Don't you think it's got
really.
some pretty good fugue for tin horns? And that's the one where those three men sing together. And it's the movie. I've never seen the play, but I love the movie, and I really like the way it opens. It's such a beautiful color film. You know, you've seen the movie, and everybody's kind of hustling around in New York, and everybody's into horse racing and buying betting sheets and going up and down steps. And there's that wonderful bit where there's like pickpockets and people are stealing, and then people are stealing from the pickpockets, and it's a regular underbelly type
It's very much a
situation.
number. The way
That's
that
a number.
I mean,
Let's
my
from the
favorite
top of the
opening-
number.
Yeah.
Reset to 1.
Yes.
5, 6, 7, 8.
That's how Bob Fosse would that was part of the
Well, do
issue.
you know about the difference in count-ins? I only learned this a few years ago. In music, like in rock and
I
roll,
know
where I come
about
from,
them. I don't know how to do them, but yes.
Well, because you're doing like it's kind of a pickup, like, and it doesn't matter. But in rock and roll, as we all know from Bob Pollard, 1, 2, 3, 4 is usually how you count into a 4/4 time song. And then, but in dancing, you say 5, 6, 7, 8.
yes, and it's very confusing, especially if
Da-da-dum,
you are
dum.
in the band.
But a bump, bump, bump. Now on Broadway, is that in chorus line or all that jazz? Dun. What's all that jazz? You got, oh boy, you know what? What a great scene that is, with just him interacting with all the different dancers and all of his faces. I think on Broadway is a chorus line. Yes. You ever see a chorus line?
Yeah. Yes. I don't think I have actually.
I once
No,
appeared on
I've
stage in
not.
a t-shirt. No, I hadn't made the t-shirt myself, but I had spray painted a message on it, or I might have screen printed it, and it said, Dance 10 looks 3. I always thought that was funny.
Dance.
Do you remember that? Judy Landers sings it. She's like, every time she goes out to like go and try out to be in a play, and she gets the score back, it's always looks 10, wait, Dance 10 looks 3. And that's why she got her
Holy
boobs done. Dance 10 looks 3. Isn't that an amazing name for a song about a play about rejection?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Where is this story told? Oh my god.
I mean, chorus line is one of those ones that I'm not saying it's like Cats, but it is a little like Cats just in one way, or maybe Les Mis to some extent, which is like, however you feel about it now, you can't, it would be easy to miss what a big deal it was to a lot of people at one time. Like a chorus line kind of was such a phenomenon.
Dance 10 looks 3.
Hey, everybody. Hi, Alex. How are you?
I am fantastic. How
You
are
may have noticed a slightly erratic end to what seemed like an in situ podcast, but I took a little break and I was checking my internet. How's your internet going?
Well, I think everything's going well.
What's your precipitation forecast there, Alex?
I don't know anymore. It was supposed to rain. It has not yet rained.
Everybody talks about the weather. No one does anything about it.
No, I know. It's it seems that my Carrot weather subscription has expired. Maybe that's why.
That's why the
Drizzle's
weather
starting in
stopped.
38
You got to put a quarter in the weather.
I found it. I found the
Oh,
solution.
there it is. That's it. Oh, I see. If I just stop paying for Carrot, it won't rain anymore.
Yeah. No.
I can't be out of money. I still have checks.
I love. I think I might become a weather nerd again. Maybe that'll help my internet. If I just have more money,
Because
that'll fix me.
then maybe you'll stop complaining about the weather even as you do something about it. That's an interesting way to think about it. Huh? Really makes you think. We were talking about the chorus line, Dance 10 looks 3. And when you were coming up, what was there big Broadway musicals in your world or in your house when you were a kid? Like I just think of like the way I grew up with The Music Man and Mary Poppins and stuff. Were there like Cats or Les Mis type big deals for musicals in your house as a kid?
It was Sound of Music and Rent, but
When you were a
also
kid?
when I was like 11, yeah.
And did your parents listen to Rent too?
Yeah, they were like,
Whoa.
I'm sure.
What was that noise, and what's it have to do with Rent? Because it's
the
gay?
Noise, yes, the noise that Catholic parents who want to be on the right side of history are just kind of baffled by this.
They should have thought of that before the Spanish
situation.
Inquisition, am I right?
Yeah. They thought about it. They didn't do anything about it.
Well, the problem
That's
was they thought about it and they did do something about it, and it wasn't on the right
Right.
side of history.
They thought about all the altar servers and here is a like Catholic wokeism that I didn't even realize that we think of the term altar boy, but we were always called altar servers, the both the boys and the girls
When he gives the wine to the groom and tells him to chug it.
No, that would be cool.
That was a Chris Fleming reference. I hope you got it. He was the cupbearer at the wedding.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that honor usually goes to the person who actually tips you if you are altar serving at a wedding or weirdly a funeral.
And so like an altar what they used to call altar boys, but you're saying altar server. So you're helping, you're kind of an assistant to like one or more are assistants to the priest, right? For like preparing for the ceremony and conducting the ceremony, but you're just doing ecumenical assistant work. Yes, you're like doing whatever needs to be done in the ritual and with dignity. Is that the idea?
The idea, yes.
Well, no, I'm trying to ask you factual questions. Like, I'm not trying to talk about like the luridness of what the Boston Globe would say, but like the role as understood is it kind of an honor? It's like an honor, like you're a good boy if you're an altar boy, right? Hence the name.
Yes, and it's both an honor and like it's seen as a privilege, and
it's like a high status thing.
Right, especially if you are the high server, which doesn't mean you've had a lot of the wine, but you get to hold the cross as you're walking.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I think I've seen that in movies.
Yes, it's if you've recently watched Knives Out, that was genuinely a big deal, and a lot.
The new one. Mm-hmm. Right. Oh, geez. Yeah. Right. Yeah. There's a lot of Jesus in that.
There is. I really like it. I think it's underrated, but
I didn't care for that one. The first one's still my absolute favorite. I thought the second one took a lot of fun turns, but I think the first one makes me really happy. But I'm glad they're all available. I like to say to sometimes to people on the internet, it's nice that we have options.
I think the first Knives Out is the best mystery movie since maybe Maltese Falcon. Like it's not noir, but just incredible mystery puzzle. It's
and it helps a lot to have that cast. The cast that they've got. Such a good cast.
Yeah. Captain America sitting there eating cookies.
He's got a sweater. It's got Michael Shannon from that REM cover band.
Lots of puke, which is,
It's got Ana de Armas.
Is that her name?
Ana de Armas. And it's got a guy who you know from The Sound of Music named Christopher Plummer.
Do I know him from Sound of Music?
He's Captain Von Trapp.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Remember he banned music in the house because it reminded him of his wife?
Yeah.
And the Baroness, they're performing for the Baroness. Remember when Liesel and the kids start singing Edelweiss? We talked about this last week.
And they cry, and then
I think the first act of The Sound, I think the whole movie, the whole musical is great, but the first act, that is, I mean, the Goat Herder song gets under my skin a little bit. But I get that it's delightful. And you can imagine what it would be like to see that on stage on Broadway. I don't know how it was staged on Broadway, but I bet it was delightful, Remember in the marionette people who did the Goat Herd song, remember they get a special credit in the movie. It's really interesting. But like that is just all killer, no filler, that first act.
The stage production fairly similar. Like that's another film that is really just adapted extremely well for the stage, and at least the versions I've seen, it is just a giant version of what you see as the like almost I don't know, toy little puppet stage. Just imagine that massive. And
Are there other people instead of puppets acting like marionettes?
no, oh yes, actual marionettes. And man,
Wait, I'm sorry, but so like but on the stage, I mean, they're not. No one's like manipulating puppet marionettes on stage, right?
yeah, that is the version.
That seems like a lot of work for a play.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be better to get children and just put strings on them?
Well, it's not a Catholic play. There's some
Got
there,
no strings. I am free. There are no strings on me.
but it's a very you.
Oh
you
my God, it's an upsetting
watched,
movie.
Yeah,
I saw Pinocchio when I was quite young. And, yeah, there's like 3 different things that traumatized me about it.
Well, I need to know. Okay,
Why would you need to know?
guess?
Well, I mean, just things that I found very upsetting. I remember especially thinking that when they got turned into donkeys on the island, that really freaked me out. The stuff with the whale is, even watching that with my kid, years ago, it's pretty overwhelming. I don't know. There's just a lot in it that's the Disney way, you know.
Did it affect your behavior? Like, oh,
I think it probably did.
were you a liar as a kid?
Not quite sure what joke to make about that. No, not particularly. No, but I have, I've in my later life, such as it is, my last waning days, I've become very interested in the topic of motivation and what makes people motivated to do something, and what we think passes for motivation and things. And I don't know. I think I ended up rotely responding to a lot of fear in life, but I don't think, you could say fear is a motivator. Like, that's a kind of a dumb guy thing to say, but it's true. Fear can be very motivating, especially if it's a lion in front of you that's making you fearful in the, analogy. But, I think real motivation for what you intrinsically want to change about your world rarely comes strictly out of fear. It has to come out of some idea of, the way I've been phrasing it lately is, who I want to be instead of who I never was. And I think that when we use fear for what we think is motivation, I think we sometimes unintentionally send a really, I'm sorry, you didn't ask for this, but I do think about that a lot.
No,
So in that case, honestly, if I were in the running to be the head boy, I would want it because it's cool and high status, and I feel like I worked for it, and I get public recognition for being a good boy, rather than being goaded into saying, you better go hold that fucking cross or you're going to go to hell. Like, I realize in retrospect that if I got anything out of that looked like motivation, it was mainly secondary to like the marks that it left on a young person. I feel like I used to be too much of a pussy to say that. I'm still a pussy, but I'm really much more willing to admit that kind of stuff now, and I kind of wish other people would too. There's this book I read one time, Alex.
Was it about keeping the score?
It was about keeping the score and how your body does that. Yeah.
Yes. Well, while you're being Merlin Mann,
Hello.
What I genuinely been thinking about is there a difference between motivation and just a reaction to something? Because I wouldn't say I was motivated to be a lot of things when I was younger. It was just maybe I'm trying to distinguish motivation versus like inspiration.
No. Yeah, sorry.
I don't
You're
know.
not going to get any pushback from me. I'm very interested in the direction that you're going. Keep going with that. Keep focused on that. So, is there a distinction? What is the distinction between motivation and what's the other force?
Or really anything like or maybe there isn't a distinction between what we're doing or what we would like to be doing, like how you say the kind of person you want to be versus the person you are in that moment. Like, is it just a motivation that is still making you sad?
I think I don't know. I sometimes feel like America is such a for better or for worse, and it varies a lot, but it's such a naturally sort of argumentative culture in some ways. The ways we argue with each other and like try to pick apart, the narcissism of minor differences kind of stuff with each other. But I think sometimes one way that we get, I feel like this very interesting conversation, very nuanced conversation gets a little bit mangled is by people who are frustrated that they haven't won the argument yet. So they start sounding like a bully. And whether that's a parent or a teacher or maybe even a nice person, you say like, well, it's just the kind of shit that drives me nuts, which is like, well, yeah, it must be nice. I have a job and a mortgage. And it's like, well, I didn't sign for your mortgage. What's your damage? Like, what would you do differently if you didn't have that mortgage? Well, I have to have a mortgage. It's like, and I hate to pick on people with houses, but it's like, wow, what a bummer that you can afford a house, barely. But like, when you brag about your weather, well, okay, you didn't invent the weather. You just have a mortgage where that weather is. You had no role in that. Why are you bragging about the relative humidity of the place you can't afford? And how is that my fault? Is one way to think about that. And when you get into sort of even a friendly tete-a-tete with people like that, there is often the playing of a certain kind of bully card where you're like, well, I'm like that because I had to be. I hit my kid because my dad hit me. Or like you go pretty quickly to these, not just those cliches, but guys, they're cliches for a reason. These are all things that I have heard as, well, that's the end of the argument things for my entire life. All the way up to any kind of appeal to authority, all the way up to you better be a good altar boy because appeal to authority is what we do and God hates you, so carry this cross. Here's the problem though. For that to remain a subtle and interesting conversation, you have to assume or believe, I don't want to get into free will and determinism, but I will get into what you might call agency or decision-making, right? Which is that like, there are not as many situations as some people would like to imagine. Some people like to imagine that everything in their life is the way it is because they did very well. They succeeded at something they had to do. And, this happens to align really nicely with movies and stuff. Can I talk about this? Is this okay?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Seriously.
I'm going to try and level set to make this smart. If you tried to talk to somebody and say like, well, what motivated you to do that? Or like what, you talk about things like enthusiasm, where you talk about focus or burnout or all these different kinds of things. And you're rarely more than 2 steps away from some ugly bully conversation where somebody goes, well, suck it up. That's how it is. And da, 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 da. And so I'm going somewhere with this, but in the ongoing analogy about, it makes sense to have fear. Just to nail this down, it makes sense to have fear if you're in a hallway with locked doors, right? Let's imagine the scenario. It's like a residential kind of hallway, which for some reason one of the doors opens, one of the locked doors opens, closes, and is locked again. And now it's you and a lion, and the lion is between you and let's say the stairway to get out. Now I'm doing this slow because it helps me too. It's however you ended up in that very odd scenario with a Suburban Lion title. However you ended up in that situation, it is completely understandable that you're feeling fear right now for all the reasons in the world. So I want to see that because if there's a really good chance that you're never going to ever be anywhere else again. That you're having the last moment of your life, and it's occurring to you that a lion is going to kill you in a suburban house and there's not a lot that you can do about it. What are you going to do? Are you going to try to outsmart it? Are you going to, and so in that case, is motivation the right word to use there? It sure could be. But if you're in a situation where it's like, oh, you've fallen down a well or you're trapped in a crevasse between 2 rocks and nobody will ever find you. If you're in what feels like kind of an impossible situation, then you end up hopefully finding motivation to do or try something. But the bully part where this breaks down is like, well, there aren't that many situations that are actually quite that easy to understand. There's not that many suburban lions in your life. And which brings us then to the more slightly Buddhist adjacent part of this, which is while it is entirely sensible to be scared about any number of lions in any number of hallways in your life, there's probably not a lion in the hallway. And even if you did see a lion somewhere once, it's not sensible to always assume there's a lion in every hallway. That's some really basic, like, if I taught a 4th grade class on Buddhism, that would be a really big part of it, is that, there's a book by Steve Hagen called Buddhism is Not What You Think, which I think is such a clever title. Because if you think about the title, what he's saying is Buddhism is not what you think, which means Buddhism is not what you think it is. But it also means Buddhism is not what you Think. See? Sounds like a little
something that after you read the book, then you think about the title for 2 hours
because
more.
words are just delicious little liars, but they can be really helpful to us because words are partly a way that we make connections in our brain. But to get back to that, your better, more interesting point, I'm just trying to get at, like, it's so tiresome to me because I can always hear the voices in my head of the people who like try to take these things that are very subtle and nuanced, at least to me, and then try to turn it into something like, okay, enough of your faffing about. Let's get down to the part where I yell at you and you agree I'm right, which is really how a lot of arguments kind of want to go with things, or discussions of any kind of thing. Like once you get frustrated that you're losing the argument, you start saying dumb shit. But what's interesting about motivation is I think we have a more interesting way to talk about motivation if we cede for the sake of argument, or stipulate for the sake of argument, that there aren't that many suburban lion situations. And that more often, something I used to say to Dan on Back to Work, how often it's really beneficial for me to remember I'm just a guy in a room. And in fact, I'm a guy in a room who feels pretty safe. I'm sitting in a chair. I'm doing stuff. I got a lot of the same problems everybody does, but I'm just a guy in a room. There's nothing's happening right now. And that it doesn't mean I'm going to put my head in the sand and blah, 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 but that's where motivation becomes more interesting. Because if you accept that there are not a lot of suburban lions in your life, motivation becomes a fascinating thing. Because motivation now becomes, what made you decide to do this that way? How did you decide? How did you look into and consider the trade-offs of this? Because, in life and engineering, there's trade-offs to almost everything. The airplanes are a pretty good example of this. If you want a plane that flies really far and carries a lot of people, it's going to need a lot of fuel, which then makes it heavier, which means it can't carry as many people or go as far. You don't get to have house rules for physics. It's not like Monopoly. You don't get to like mess around with that stuff. Well, here's how we play it. We all start with 3 houses and a lever. You start with 3 simple tools, and then you can build a hotel on your tools. Do you want to be the apple, or do you want to be Archimedes' bathtub? Hi, welcome to Physics Monopoly. Little tiny Newton. Because if we accept that, then we reach this slightly more existentially harrowing thing, which is when we accept that actually very few things in life are that simple. And there are way more opportunities for motivation than we realize. And I like the word motivation also because it's different than other words we use that have I know we have that phrase like motivational speaker, but I can live with that. I'll put that aside. I just like motivation because I think it's better than, let me put it to you this way. If you're a little kid, did something like from a Life in Hell comic, like threw a bottle of milk on the floor and then started laughing and drawing on the walls or whatever. I mean, it's fairly natural for a parent to go, why did you do that? And the honest answer almost all the time is I wanted to see what would happen. It's the basis of almost all Life in Hell comics in some ways. Matt Groening was onto this early. Do you know what I'm saying? Like when you say to a little kid, why did you do that? And a lot of times if they were verbal and able to talk, what they would probably say is something like, I wanted to see what would happen. And the thing is, if that's a 14-year-old kid that's throwing milk on the floor, I bet it's even more a case of I wanted to see what happens because they're testing out boundaries. But if you actually wanted to figure out more about so what you're really trying to say is you don't really want to know why they did that. What you really want to say is you're a fucking asshole. Why'd you throw milk on the floor? Or, even more saliently, you're not even really asking that. You don't care why, and that you care, but you care because you want them to admit that they're wrong. And instead of trying to figure out, well, what is the actual motivation for doing that, which there may not be an answer to. Could be that they're lactose intolerant or whatever. But I like the idea of, I'll finally finish this. Motivation, if we frame things in terms of motivation instead of why did you do that? Tell me why you did this. Why did you do that? Why did you not do that? I think it's interesting to think about how we think and to be able to try and reflect in a theory of mind way with others and ourselves. And if we think about motivation, we quickly get into some somewhat scary existential territory where we're kind of out on a cliff by ourselves as ever. It's just because now we're saying, well, I think I said this here. I think I said this to Roderick. It's just this thing. It's a really deep thought bomb for me. What would the world look like if it turned out you'd chosen almost all of your own problems? and knew it? Like, what if all of your problems, what if your problems were not something that got dropped on you because of bad people? Just for the sake of and don't answer the question. I don't want anybody to answer the question, but I just want you to think about it. Or just do the Merlin way. What if it turned out that your third biggest problem was something you actually fought to choose? Now, an easy example of that might be I'm having a terrible time in college and I can't afford it and I'm addicted to Adderall and I'm living like a Ninja Turtle. What is it John Mulaney says? You know, I'm paying $140,000 to learn a language I already speak and to read books I didn't read. Well, do you remember when you were filling out that form and the thing you wanted more than anything else in the world was to get into that college that you couldn't afford? Well, like, things change. The world is dynamic. I don't know if this is exactly making sense, but if we accept for a moment that the things, and it's not that we cause problems in our life, it's not blah, but like we can neither blame everything on other people nor take all of the blame ourselves. In fact, blame is not a great way to look at it. Shit fucking happens in the world. Like, stuff happens. How do you respond to it? But like, motivation to me implies that you've got a sense of self and future and maybe a certain amount of moral or ethical preparation for things, where like you wouldn't have to like go to committee to decide whether to turn in a wallet that you found and things like that. Well, but Lisa, well, why did you turn that in? Why didn't you just take the $5 and throw the wallet away? And somebody asks you that, you might be saying, well, why would you? I don't understand how you could even ask a question like that. That's so strange to me. I would never be motivated to do that. The benefits of getting $5 would be hugely outweighed by feeling like I betrayed a basic idea about doing the right thing that matters to my sense of integrity. Do you know what I mean? Now, you can already hear all the fruit in this wine. Whoa. You can hear all the fruit in this wine. Do you see what I did there unintentionally?
That's very good.
Because it's real fruity talk, but I'm also whining.
Yes.
It's a very fruity wine.
And very easy to crush up and ruin and have so many different notes.
And I don't know. But there's a lot of like fancy words in that, and we're talking. Oh, what are you talking about? Oh, can we get back to talking about how, you know, this mortgage that I wanted more than anything in the world now is just weighing on me. Luckily, I have this weather I can brag about. You know, it's just weird, the little connections people make between things. But motivation to me is like a way of, I'm so sorry, this is the worst episode I've ever done of this show. But motivation to me just becomes a very interesting way to look at like what goes into your process of thinking about these things. Because we may not realize there's a process to how we think. And that's why sometimes analogies can be so powerful to me. When you think about like, you know, broad but shallow knowledge, or you think about, you know, holding the different parts of the elephant and all these different ways of trying to tease out these deeper ideas. Well, what could be more difficult than motivation? Think about your motivation, Alex. I mean, there's ways, I'm not trying to like, you know, clock you or anything, but I mean like is it not fair to say that as conflicted and sometimes terrible as your relationship with the church is, it's not like it has no role in your life anymore. Don't you still get ash on your head?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And now to somebody, they're going to go, what the hell is wrong with you? Have you not seen Spotlight? Mm-hmm. Why are you still getting ash on your head if you've seen Spotlight? And it's like, well, spoken like somebody who's never had that kind of experience. Or, you know, there's all kinds of stuff. Oh man, I learned the best, worst phrase. You've probably heard it, I'm guessing. I hadn't heard it. Enacting trauma. Have you heard that phrase?
Something similar, like...
It's where you unintentionally take the trauma that was visited upon you and you unintentionally do it to other people. You know, it's kind of, I think it's kind of related to that whole like, I have daddy issues and so I only date asshole guys. It's kind of like that. But the idea is like, when you look at these terrible things that happen with some of these communities and individuals we've been talking about, and you dig down into that a little bit, well, of course, why would we ever look at these monsters? They're the worst. I don't want to learn anything about these guys. Boo! Knowledge is scary. But if you really dug down into it, you might discover that, like, you know, my first very dear friend, who was obviously gay in junior high, I mean, he had a lot of assaults in his life from his near family members. And it made his life very confusing because, as you can probably infer, do you realize what I'm trying to kind of get at a little bit? Where like,
Yes.
and so like, then the dumb guy learns about that and goes, well, how could this guy choose to live as an adult, college-educated homosexual when a male member of his family assaulted him as a kid? What broke in his brain? How did he get how he is? Wouldn't that make him be the straightest guy in the world? Whereas me, the less dumb guy, goes like, well, I can think of about a million things that explain different parts of that, but it's really fucking complicated. And if you had any sense, any sense of self, you'd be able to look at yourself and realize how much shit you do, mean guy, that makes no fucking sense to other people. And but like, you know, again, the dumb guy approach is to come back and go, well, obviously, wouldn't that make you just want to be the straightest straight guy ever? And then like, you know, hide it from everybody and become a lacrosse player or whatever. And it's really, really complicated. He got married, and last I heard, he'd been with the same guy in Michigan for, I think, 40 years. But do you know what I mean? I'm trying to say this. I'm saying a lot of things here without saying a lot of things here. But in the words of the great Peter Schaefer, moments, no. But like, honestly, isn't it sometimes difficult to unravel the cause and effect of things, including what motivated us? Isn't it sometimes a little more complicated than it seems, especially when you know the real details behind the scenes?
That's why I tend to ask a lot of questions and why I love documentaries. Like, oh God, I can't remember. Is it Behind Pee-wee or Pee-wee?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
and just
that one's interesting. We talked about that here, I think.
Like, why would you go to the porn theaters?
Oh, I know,
like, well,
I know.
I mean, how long do you have? Like,
Well, but Alex, there's so many levels to that. But then also, but like, first of all, think about how many sex acts are considered gay. And I don't want to be, you know, too grisly about it here, but for a long time in American culture that I grew up in, procreative missionary position sex was considered normal, and everything else had connotations of homosexuality or sexual assault, to be honest. But seriously, right? So for example, there's no way that you could be into, as a straight man, that you could want a woman to put a finger in your butt, let alone peg you. There's no way you could want that unless you were what? Gay. It's like, well, yeah, but like, what if you just like having stuff in your butt? Like that's one comes into that. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be gross or like, but I'm just, you know, but like, honestly, there's all kinds of stuff like that where people's kind of half-assed understanding of some gerund in the world then starts getting like loosely applied to like a third of the population. And you're like, how did you come up with that? But again, now Pee-wee, like who everybody thought was gay, and then everybody thought was, you know, well, okay, well, if Pee-wee's gay, then why is he in a straight movie theater? And you notice at this point, we're still in this brine of all of this sludge about like the salaciousness. But then what did we learn? What did we learn? I mean, setting all that aside, that was all real stuff, and that all became his legacy. But then what did we learn from that documentary that was very interesting to learn?
oh,
The cop who was responsible for that, the cop leader who was responsible for that series of busts, was new in their position, under threat, and needed to put numbers on the board. Mm-hmm. And it helped him to get a celebrity scalp.
And wasn't that the case for the DA as well? And then in order
I think that's
to,
it. Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah.
And
But all of a sudden, whatever happened to the conversation about whether he's gay? Is this less confusing now? Well, maybe it's more confusing now. Well, what if there was not a tidy fucking narrative that everything that exactly matched your reckon about the world? I mean, that's a very confusing concept to have to sit with, but the more time you spend with different people who aren't just you in your tribe, the more often you're going to encounter stuff that at first seems a little difficult to understand because they're not you. They have not lived as you. They don't think as you. And in many cases, you'll discover too late at your peril, they've had exposure to other people in a way that you haven't. And they're much more, if not comfortable, at least well-versed in the varieties of human experience, rather than going, oh, here's a fact I know about butts that I apply to everything. And like, there are people out there conducting like something close to an entire worldview based on trying to impress their dad with how much they hate homosexuals. And I don't think they're adding a lot to the discourse personally.
I don't know if this is
I got a soft
necessary.
motivation, so feel free to go back to that.
Well, I think about why why I'm motivated to ask questions and understand things, and I worry that sometimes it's just me wanting to be smarter or feel more comfortable around people who are different than me, which is why
Isn't
I
part of
think
it
a
though
lot of
just trying to find extra pieces for the puzzle where the world will hopefully make a little more sense if you can get an answer to this question? Isn't that kind of like
Yes,
one
and I
like pretty
think-
straightforward way? Is like I want the world to make more sense to me, and I feel like if I have the answer to this, the world might make a little more sense to me.
Right. And I think that something that, again, I don't know if it's an American thing, but something that has started to frustrate me more and more is when you're not trying to win an argument, but you are trying to understand and truly cannot, then you're like, this must be wrong because I cannot relate to it. I cannot understand it. And I just don't get it. Like, this is the obvious one, I suppose, is sexuality, or for me is like whether it is furries or any that for the longest time. I think that's still kind of like the canonical thing. Like, I don't know.
It is for me. It's like, what's the joke people always make about, fat people and Irish people? It's the only. Actually, I think we can insult Italians, but that's just my own point of view. But like, what are the groups that it's still okay to just bag on? In some ways, doesn't it have that feeling to it? Sometimes it's like, oh, you're still in the bad person club.
Right. And I think the part of that is just still I'm like, is it a lack of, I don't know if it is a lack of empathy or, I don't know. I just wish folks who really cared to ask the question can sit with being okay with not understanding something, or asking
being
why,
able to stay curious in the face of incomplete and unsatisfying information.
Yeah, I don't. I think I've been interrogating my friends a lot who say like everything is on fire, everything is bad, and everything is burning down, and I'm like, well, okay, I don't think that is true. And even if you have the not literal but like pretty scary suburban lions that are still kind of roaming around neighborhoods like mine, like, yeah, there are scary men with guns. It is really scary and bad. But what is that? What is that motivating you to do rather than spiral and despair? And I think,
and so it's a way of saying like, like, I'm never quite sure. If you could tell probably when Kathy said that to me, like, oh, the world's on fire, like blah blah, and it's like, well, if the world's on
Kathy
fire, then
says so much, yeah.
well, no, I didn't mean it that way. But in terms of like, thanks for teeing up the ball like that. Well, now let me tell you about a Markdown editor I like while the world's on fire. I mean, that's the problem with letting other people frame conversations. But it's a kind of a way of also, I mean, like, because I don't know, but at a certain point, like, so you're trying to say like, okay, well, you've got somebody comes at you with this, like, here's how things are, here's the situation. And is there sort of an implied, and you're not weirded out or sad enough yet? Is that part of it?
Yes.
Sometimes.
A kind of like we talked about before of not liking the same computer thing. It's like, let's find camaraderie in our sadness,
Yeah.
because it is. I guess it is. I'm like, am I just being an asshole? Because I'm like, this seems just easy. Is it just easier that you would want to find camaraderie in the sadness and the anger versus the more interesting?
Well, then
thing?
it feels like there are a lot of people out there that if they got a day off would go directly to some suburban house that they're pretty sure has a lion in it. I mean, I think there's I don't have any. this is purely, I had an idea I wrote down last night. I want to start a podcast called Reckoning, which is the name of REM's second album. But I just want to have a podcast where I say something that I reckon about, and then I talk to somebody about it. So this is admittedly just kind of a long ass reckon, but I don't know. This would take a lot of research to figure out, but I don't want to criticize anybody for their response to a difficult world, but it can't go completely without saying that I'm not trying to turn this into the like inconvenience Olympics or something, or the trauma championships. I'm not trying to do that. Like, oh, it was worse. Like, oh, you didn't know what it was like in Treblinka, or can you imagine what it was like in 13-6 or whatever? Like, oh, the worst year in the plague and the blah blah blah. And you have no idea these kids today with their funny hair. I'm not trying to do that, but I am kind of say like, well, it is fair to say that they're as good or bad as times has ever been. The times have been good, always been good for somebody and terrible for somebody else. That's pretty true in general. Now, you can make that about class, and you can make that about religion, and you can make that about access to resources and education and all sorts of things. Not make that. I'm not trying to say it's not true. But what I am saying is like, to use a phrase I was saying on Roderick recently, depending on your style of demographic slicing, you will come up with extremely different results. Like everybody, like the classic example, everybody has always been so nostalgic for the 50s, whether it's the music, the dancing, the short haircuts, everybody seeming to like kind of be on the same page about a bright new American future, right? And like, now it feels like it's been almost as long that we go, well, no, actually, a lot of that was either a myth, a lie, or a perniciously ugly project to hurt Black people. Like, Black people didn't have a great 50s, a lot of them. Well, what do you mean Black people? Well, yeah, but let's keep drilling down and down and down and down, like into like different cities, different areas. Like America has now over 300 million people in it. It's hard to say anything very general about anywhere, but yeah, you know what? It's always been a trash fire. And the part I can't say too often is like, well, and so what are you going to do now? Like, what are you going to do for the future? Or have you considered what the future looks like when it's a little bit less of a trash fire and you can no longer just throw your hands up in the air and not care? How will you know when it's time to care again? Or have you just settled into, are you just retired in place as somebody who has accepted a sort of blinkered nihilism, unexamined nihilism about how the world is? And I'm not saying you got to like run around, putting daisies in rifle barrels, but Jesus Christ, people. And so that's part of it though, is, but living with the certainty that you've made good decisions is such a balm for so many people, for so many adult Americans. And it makes them not very fun to hang with. I got off your topic. What were you talking about? You were talking about,
No, this is the same thing of motivation, because when someone says, yep, everything, I call it Kathy because we do talk about this publicly. And I, when folks say this to me, it's almost like I worry that now I'm doing the reverse chicken problem where,
yeah, I've thought about that. Bok. I've thought about that. Yeah.
Like the blue sky. Like when I say blue skies born, I kind of get bored. Like, well, yeah, people like, yeah, I mean, I have the canonical at this point example is like, yep, Black people have always been shot, but it's also usually not the people who are being shot at who are talking about it on the internet and like, yeah, have
the quote unquote fugitive slaves may have had an underground railroad, but they did not have a forum they could post to.
I don't find it useful really to talk about some of the stuff that has happened to me, because that is a story that's been told over and over again. And so when someone says like, oh God, it's so bad now, and then I'm like, wait, have you not been
I'm paying attention.
Have you not been listening? Like, I almost feel like I'm like, oh God, I now am the annoying person who, not that I say it, but I'm like, have you not asked why someone is like this and why,
but doesn't it also get into the trade-offs problem of like, and maybe I'm trying to argue facts.
Here's a less depressing example is the big nostalgia around shopping malls right now. And
that's interesting.
Again, it's
no, I know. I didn't know that. Like our mall has had like a total renaissance. It's had like a complete like rethink of what the entire mall is for into like these two very different kinds of things, and it's absolutely fascinating. But I've heard in San Francisco there's like almost all the malls have died except for a couple that are doing weirdly well for this surprising reason. But you feel like there's like the Pizza Hut though, right? Like people want to go to the mall again.
Yes, you probably haven't seen any of the compilations of look at this video of a 90s or 2000s mall.
No, I'm not aware of that as a TikTok thing, but I have definitely watched some documentaries about New Jersey malls in the 80s for sure.
And the
New Jersey, man, they got a mall culture there. That's where Soap Dish. When they take when Whoopi Goldberg takes Sally Field to the mall to get her pumped up, that's in New Jersey. I think it's Paramus. Big mall country.
Suburbs, Midwest suburbs, that was the place for most people to hang out if you did not have, it was like a step up from being a latchkey
in hot places,
kid.
It was cool. In cold places, it was warm. It was open. It was relatively safe. It was monitored. It certainly felt less dangerous than the sort of urban landscape that maybe a previous generation thought of as freedom.
Yeah,
you could get dropped off by the door and get picked up by the door, and like inside there was enough to keep you busy, but it felt, within reasonable parameters, like a pretty safe place compared to almost everything else where teens accumulate.
It felt like a safe and welcoming place for a lot of people, and it never did for me or a number of my friends eventually.
Yeah,
and I'm like. Are you nostalgic for just a place that, like you said,
for me that might be the roller skating rink. Like I was so envious of cool kids who went to the. I only ever went. The roller skating rink was a big deal in 8th grade, and like this is around the time like I was first really getting.
Did you have couple skates?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, that
I
stressful.
wasn't in a couple, and
so
I did not. No, but I think if I understand what you're saying, inferring sort of details here, I think in some ways the way you felt at the mall makes you feel weird about like, nostalgia for that. We're like, I get why people have the nostalgia for roller skating rinks for the same reason I get why they have nostalgia for football games with cheerleaders and stuff. But it's just that football games with cheerleaders, like I was looking through a very tiny porthole at that world. I was not welcome in that world. Not that that's a problem, but like if anything, I felt more like prey than a fan at some kinds of things.
And I just mentioned these because there's like lower stakes.
You get harassed for being you.
Yeah, but still, then it's like, okay, so the motivation around that the motivation of desire, or rather the desire, I don't know. I do not have the like accurate words, but it's like what you want.
But it's
community
nostalgia. So it's misty watercolored malls, like in your head, and you might remember it nicer than it was. And like in your head, the mall in your head is so much nicer than the mall you would go to now. But you can fake it in the same way as if you went to like Disneyland, which is not the same Disneyland anymore.
Yeah, I'm trying to also distinguish between the, I still wish there was a word for, I guess, like a sort of healthy nostalgia of exploring why we felt like what was the good that came out of something and why we missed something. And, that also gets tied up with like memory and, it's
also when you start realizing stuff about yourself that's not as nice. It's when you start doing things like that, you go, oh yeah, and maybe I was a bully to this person. And oh gosh, I was low on the food chain, but there's always somebody lower than you on the food chain, And, maybe the manna shrimps are picking on you, but you're picking on, I don't know enough about sea creatures. But yeah, I mean, but all the things we're talking about though do share the same kind of common thing among snobs anyway, which is like, I don't think these are uninteresting topics at all. I don't think that they are merely ruminative, not useful topics at all. It's just that it's almost like trying to describe the way one's mind works, where, it's so hard to describe to people. And we're talking about conceptual things that, I mean, I don't have the education and vocabulary to say everything I'm thinking well. And that makes it difficult. So there's not only room for misunderstanding, there's also room for just discomfort. And I don't know. I think that's not a situation in a lot of people. There's a lot of people who are not comfortable with discomfort.
Even if you like quote had the right words, depending on what approach you're going with, like I was talking to a neurologist about this, like what parts of our brains light up when we want to do something versus a philosopher who's like, okay, we have a totally different take on what this is.
Yeah.
And then I think those folks, when it is in a theoretical sense, they're less motivated to fight. Like they want to be like, yes, I'm the right one, but not, from a less emotional place, I suppose. And they're more, I don't know. I just wish not just wish, but I'm trying to get folks more comfortable with the discomfort and acknowledging the discomfort, I suppose. And I worry about discomfort motivating me. That's my
For me, one of those is
anxiety.
inconvenience. I realize what a low threshold I have for inconvenience, and I suspect a lot of people have a lower threshold for inconvenience than they acknowledge. But that's definitely a known issue for me.
Can you give?
Oh, like the things that I kind of will avoid doing or won't do just because I'm like, oh, that's going to be a whole thing. Man, I wish I'd written this down. I had a really good thing that was relevant to what you were saying. The comfort with discomfort part is super interesting. I don't know. So I've been saying this a lot over and over about like the trying to help people become who they want to become. You know that thing I said where like when you think about your relationship with people, it can be at least interesting to ask yourself. It's kind of like that 10x thing that do I want 10x more of how this person is kind of idea. Similar to that, but it's just a thought technology, another thought technology like the what if you accidentally chose all your own problems with greed and excitement and didn't know it, and again always and didn't know it. But the thing about trying to move through the world with curiosity and kindness, the Doctor Who stuff, and that, like I say, in this relationship that I have with this person, how do I feel about the person they're trying to become and my role in helping them? And like, I think that you could stop right there. And I think that's kind of an interesting question because there's all kinds of ways that there are a lot of people who think they're not changing. And that's a bummer because everybody's changing. And you'd probably be better. One would be better at dealing with almost every aspect of their lives, especially their relationships, if they accepted that everybody's always changing. But we'll set that aside just for a second. But I guess I have to say that step zero, I think there's a lot of people who don't think they change or aren't willing to change and who see that durability or, from their point of view, there's nobody who thinks they're wrong. I've yet to meet somebody who always thinks they're wrong. But the corollary is much more common in my experience. But you run into people and it's like you can tell they're so happy with their certainty and it's just you get into this weird. Eventually, it doesn't take very long to dig down into something that's about as sophisticated that says, God said it, I believe it, that settles it. Except for all kinds of stuff in life, and like that, anytime that there's something that challenges an aspect of the thing about which they are certain, including their own identity, I think a lot of people take that really, really hard in a way that's not wholesome. But that's why I say, like, hey, if you look back on the last N years of your life, how different would your life be if you started from this really weird project of saying, I'm going to try to find people where I can help them become who they want to become. And I'm going to try and minimize the relationships I have with people who are become, let's say, the kind of middle of the road version of this, who are becoming something that's not a thing that I'm as into. But then the other part, the part where it gets real, like dark and real, how can I help this person become, how do I feel about helping this person become who they're going to become versus, and this is the part where it gets complicated, Alex, and why I phrase it in this dumb way, versus trying to, let's say, motivate them to be or act like somebody that they never actually were. And this is a really big deal for parents, in my opinion. And I say that because it's something I struggle with. Like, are you, like, if you go check the record, like, how much have you done in the last month that's helping that person become who they're becoming versus how much have you done to remind them how disappointing they are that they're not who you thought they should have been? And that's, I think I mentioned that because of what? Motivation. You think you're motivating them. I mean, there are really nice, good-hearted people in this world. As Flannery O'Connor says, good country people in this world who really believe with great brio that they are motivating their children by telling them what a piece of shit they are. And maybe not just with hitting and stuff like that, but just by going like, well, there's room for improvement. I guess you tried. You know, there's all these kinds of things. And it's like, well, when's the last time you fucking ask your kid what they want to be? Not what they want to be when they grow up, but who do they want to become? And not just your kid, but like whoever, your coworkers, your people you're mentoring or whatever. Like, if you want to just become a mentor who's about teaching people how to do wood shop so they can make horsehead bookends, well, that may not be what that person wants. And like, if you get mad at them because they don't want to do woodworking unless they make horsehead bookends, if you evaluate their success in your mentee program by their enthusiasm for your dumb fucking random shit, like, well, I don't know, maybe there was a mismatch at the office or something like that. But I think that second part is where the motivation stuff becomes very real. Because I feel like there are so many people, including me and including you, I'm sure, who unintentionally just treat people like shit sometimes, thinking that they have their reasons for doing that, and they're trying to help them be the person they should be. So like, do better, or like, get better grades, or stay in your room until you figured out how to apologize to your aunt, or like all these different ways we're constantly, punishing people for not being the way that we expect them to be. And I obviously understand, like, you can't have your kid out there acting like a maniac, but like, if you looked at the last month or the last year or the last decade of your relationship with anybody you claim to care about, if we did a real quick flyby of that and did a little montage, how much of that would be you actively helping that person to become who they want to become? Versus, is there a chance that at least at some points you spent a lot more energy than was a good idea in trying to make them be somebody else, including somebody they used to be, somebody you thought they were? And I mentioned this to Roderick again in that sense of like, oh, I don't like your attitude. Well, is it that you don't like your kid's attitude, or you're sad that they don't want to watch TV with you anymore? Because there's a difference. And like, could it be that kid's just doing something different? Could this be we're in one of those periods where maybe you don't have a viewport into understanding about everything in the way that person works? This causes, think about work situations where somebody's suddenly acting differently. Like, let's say you, a person at work, is like, Janice, something seems to be up with Janice. And like, you gather string on like, oh, has she been late for work? She's not in the office. She looks like she's been crying. Her seat smells funny. Like, I don't know, whatever you do to try and figure out what's up with Janice. And like, just think about all the ways in which like we're fantasizing about somebody else's shit, about somebody else's reality, about somebody else's, if you like, lived experience, and very much about somebody else's motivation. And it's not pretty untoward to just roll up to Janice and ask her what her fucking damage is. But you could very easily sometimes find yourself in a case of going, well, I don't understand, Alex. You used to be such a good student. And you used to be so, I don't know what kind of word you'd use in your community. You used to be so, maybe not pious, you used to be so reverent. Or you know what I mean? You used to, whatever happened to your faith and like da-da-da-da-da. And there's a person, including probably a priest or a beloved family member, who thinks that is a kind of motivation. To say, hey, I notice you've fallen off the path. Let me help you get back on the path. But what we never did...
Or sometimes more insidious.
But we never had the conversation about whether I ever wanted to be on your fucking path. And like, what years of your disappointment about my use of the path has brought me to where like, it's still so stunning. I'm putting words in your mouth, but I can do this for my own shit. It's still so stunning to me that we've never had basic conversations about the stuff that you put me into, and then we're mad that I didn't do it the way you thought I should. And then we're not even getting into like, yeah, I know everybody's got daddy and mommy issues, but like, you treat people like the way you think your mother and father should have treated you or would have treated you. And you're suddenly like, oh my God, I am so deep in somebody else's bullshit right now. Like I can't get a breath of air. And so how dare you stand there and ask me why I'm not getting good stars on my reports when like for the last N years, mostly what you've done is tell me what a bad job I'm doing of being the person you thought I used to be.
Judy, or Judy, your
Janice?
chair used to Janice, your chair used to smell so good. It's and it was a little bit of Febreze. I'm just.
It turns out she went to the. You know why she went to the store? To buy us minces.
No.
I don't know. I hope I wasn't over projecting too much onto you there. And I'm sorry I talked to him so much when I said I wouldn't. And the not the worst part of it, but one of the worst parts of all of this stuff is this. People will slide right past this, and it bums my head. Everybody's got their reasons. We will never have any progress in any part of the world unless we realize one thing. I made a little crack about 8 or 10 minutes ago that I'm not sure anybody caught. And instead of, let me turn it from a comment into a question. When's the last time you met somebody that you really liked, who didn't have any reasons for what they did and thought that they were probably wrong about everything? It's pretty unusual to meet people who honestly think that, I mean, we all have a crisis, dark night of the soul, and wonder about things, but the adults that I meet in life seem sort of really improbably confident about their decisions in life, which is then, in my opinion, often reflected by social media, where they go out and constantly demonstrate to other people that they've made better decisions and can prove it. And that's, I think, one reason our world is so ugly. But do you know what I'm saying, though? Like we're always going out there, and it's like some fucking seduction community dingling out there trying to demonstrate value to people, and like this weird kind of potlatch that we're always doing to show everybody that the culmination of all our good decision making is this photo or this thing. It's like what you don't encounter a lot is people going, I don't know, man, I feel pretty unmoored right now. Like I feel okay about this one thing. My confidence is up about this, but honestly, it's not very cool in America to talk about your existential, actually existential crises, except in a way that's fun to chat about online. To talk about the actual darkness that we face in wondering what it means to be truly alone in a world that doesn't care about us. Like, how do you develop curiosity, right? How do you develop kindness? And then how do you make a point? And what does the doctor do, right? We never resort to fear or anger unless we've exhausted curiosity, which sounds like Mr. Rogers stuff, and God willing it is, I guess. But you know what I'm saying, dude? Like, people are so fucking mad. People are they're so mad. They're so like everybody's America's angry dad at this point. And they've been so mistreated, and they have so much grievance with everybody, and everybody else is doing it wrong. And that doesn't, if that leads to a dark night of the soul, well, the answer to that might be beer and wings. It's not to talk to somebody and say like, do I sometimes say bullshit and nobody tells me that it's bullshit, or was that terrible? That time that I yelled at you in front of your friends at scout camp, that was pretty horrible, wasn't it? That I did that. I'm making this up, but you know what I mean, right? There's not that many people that are looking to actually go mend a fence or heal a bridge. There's really not that many people out there. Instead, it's more like Olive Oil's father in the movie Popeye. You owe me an apology. You owe me an apology. Like everybody owes me an apology, And as I said, I say this because it's a known issue, but like Americans, especially American men, especially middle-aged and older American men, have a thing that I am entirely aware of, and I am so susceptible to. And of all the ways I'm supposed to be out here glamorously fighting aging, and all the funny ways I'm supposed to be involved in don't die and get your turmeric, or whatever, there's only one that I really care about a lot at this point, which is getting out of the habit of defaulting to fear and anger as a response. Now, why do I say that? Well, because that's the default American man's response. And if that's not your default American man response, you were raised at a different time than I was. And just take it on faith, if you can, on strength, that if you encounter a lot of, especially American men, middle-aged American men, you ever notice how many of them are really, really angry and like ultimately really, really scared? And like, I feel like an antidote for that on even just the most personal level is to try and avoid that. Like, let's get out of this business of thinking my only options really. Another way I've said this before, and this is again a reckon, but like, I do have this feeling that I realized a long time ago, writing that website I did, that it's interesting how there's this weird pachinko game that happens with emotions, where the most complex and subtle emotions at the top of the Plinko board end up going down into like maybe 5 slots. But ultimately, for men, I think in particular, no matter how sophisticated, quote unquote, an emotion is, a feeling, an overriding niggle about something, at the end of that Plinko game, there's basically 2 slots at the bottom: fear and anger. And in a lot of ways, they're kind of the same slot. When we become fearful, we get angry. And when we start to realize how possessed we are with a certain kind of anger, it makes us fearful about the things that we think are threatening. And if I'm painting with a broad brush, well, let it begin with me. And I think the doctor doesn't do that. You look at that dinosaur and you go, look at I've never seen anything like you before. What are you? But like Doctor Who would be a much less interesting show if he just like hung out with TERFs and yelled at people. But sorry, I'm not trying to change the topic. Do you know what I mean, though?
No.
The kindness and curiosity part, like, but this also, I've been reading more, some Alan Watts stuff again lately, and just, thinking a lot about that kind of stuff. And like, it really is true though. Like there are options that I was not raised, I feel, to consider as a serious person. There are options for cognition that were never strictly on the table as like an on-main way to deal with life. The on-main way to deal with life is fucking succeed and never disappoint anybody and always be on time. And, wear a rubber or whatever. Like, these kinds of things. But like, just in a world as a thought technology, imagine a world where, without respect to like some Epcot idea of imagination and creativity, like what would it look like if we help people develop their own personal basis for developing a model for a personal curiosity? Like, because it strikes me that like, I'm sorry, this is not an excuse, but I think it is a reason. It's not an excuse. There's a reason that so many dudes are the way they are. It's because it is kind of how we were raised. Like, and honestly, how we raised each other. It's not, again, not an excuse, but to act like it doesn't exist is fucking insane. That there's not a way that dudes generally are that's really crazy and toxic. I mean, the old line, who was the first said it that, I'm not going to repeat it, but, the line about what women fear versus what men fear. And let's just say that the thing men fear is being laughed at. Mm-hmm. And, women don't want to be killed. But that's absolutely kind of true. We've all known guys where everything's fine 93% of the time, 98% of the time, but something, the wrong combination of things, the Jenga blocks all come tumbling down. And that person, John Lennon, I was watching a documentary about the Beatles last night, and John Lennon was horrible to people. Like, he was just so horrible emotionally, but also he just used to beat up his girlfriends a lot. Like, I didn't know that. I wasn't entirely aware of that as much. I knew he became abusive and went out with Nilsson and drank a lot, but I'm not proud of this, but I'm part of a culture and a background and a worldview that really says that's not only okay for guys, but it's essential for guys. That for guys, it is really essential to be certain about what you do and to never show weakness, and to like, as part of this kind of like, GED version of natural selection, I guess. Like, you're supposed to go out there and like always eat the big meat and get the lady and all that kind of stuff. And like, but what would it look like if we had a better toolbox for understanding what curiosity can mean? All that shit that's like finally dawning on me at the age of 60. Like, what if I could be curious instead of fearful? Is that an option for me? Or like, something I said in the document recently, have you ever given even a moment's thought to how little of everything that happens in the world has anything to do with you? Have you ever really, really, really just give it 1 minute? For 1 minute, think about the entire, not even the universe. Let's think about the earth. And let's even think about the extant, one day in the life of the earth. And think about, on the one hand, how little has anything to do with you. And then I guess there's another side of that, which is like how many things where we're actually connected in ways we don't understand. But you with me so far?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying, I'm trying to avoid using words like fight, but like, Jesus, it just makes sense. If you want to be a whole person with integrity, wouldn't it make sense to like figure out, to troubleshoot, track down the kind of stuff that you can see getting in other people's way? Like, and the thing is, like, if all that anger actually made people like, I don't think people like the director of the FBI or the director of the secretary of the Department of Defense. These seem like people who are not, I'm not doing a bit. They don't seem very happy to me. They seem manic to me. Like whatever they're doing, which seems like some pretty crazy stuff sometimes, that I don't think they're having that great a time. Maybe they are, but they're living the dream. They're doing all the stuff that people of my generation were raised to do, to run out and be alpha and no fear and just do it, and all those different kinds of shirt-based philosophies in life. But like, I mean, have you met that many people living in anger and fear? And like, is it going great? It wouldn't, if it does go great for them, Hakuna Matata. Me, I know it's not great, because then anger and fear also becomes something that you feed. Yes, with more anger and more fear, but you also feed it all your good stuff. You feed all your pets to your feelings. All the good stuff in your life gets fed to your feelings because you think it'll help. And that's partly because maybe you never went back and looked at like, well, however I got to how I am, is there a way that I could be motivated to act like the world matters? And if it did matter, how would I act differently toward just normal people? Air fryers. Hey, real quick, what'd you make in yours? Did you make anything you liked? Did you find anything you liked?
Yes. Yeah. All the type of...
Were you surprised with what you found?
Yes. I don't like... I've just never had a strong relationship to cooking, and for better or worse, what you talked about with Kathy, haven't ever been as emotional about food as the majority of people. I think I just want.
I've actually been trying to get some advice for you about that.
Yes.
No, I've been at my wife who runs. I was like, this is not a joke about what was that Slim Fast for douchebags. What was that stuff people, Soylent or whatever it's called? I was like, I'm not making a Soylent joke, I says to my wife, but like, she's run long distances. I was watching a YouTube video about this year's Barkley Marathon, and I was like, God, look at all those bottles of water. She's like, yeah, some of them are water, some of them are electrolytes, and some of them are like basically like a meal in a bottle. Mm-hmm. And that reminded me. And so I was trying to get ideas for you for the food as fuel thing. That's one of your things, right?
Yes.
Is you're trying to get to where this is a non-emotional thing that I do for my body. If I want to have a treat, I can do that. But like, how do I just get this on lock?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And
with your problematic rectangles.
But I just was like, I'm going to have fun with this and make all of the or whatever I would consider I really don't literally don't even like put things in the oven. And I'm like, there's so many fast foody things that people make in air fryers where that seems like a treat. And
making it a little doesn't making it a little project help?
Yes.
Honestly, because like the thing is, there are people in the world, like for me, where like I don't think about food at all until I'm really hungry, and then I just put something in my face, which is, again, I don't know if that's a particularly mindful way to do it, but like if instead you said, okay, now it's a project, and over this weekend, I'm going to pick at least 2 or 3 new, probably frozen things that I can make in the air fryer, and I'm a good boy, so I'm going to go to the store and get things I like, and I could even get those dumb fucking egg rolls or whatever, or, pizza pockets or whatever, right? Because now you made it a project.
Here's the problem that I ran into, though. I did approach it.
Were you feeding your pets to your feelings?
No, No, I don't think so,
No, I don't
because
think you
I
do.
really was like, I'm not going to feel bad about just eating some treats. I'm going to get these checkered fries.
Oh, yes.
And I went about it as a project of like, okay, what are the best, I told you about my journey of figuring out the difference between wax paper and parchment
You
paper
mentioned it in
versus
passing,
just
yeah.
freezer paper, which is
I love to make fun of you, Alex, but honestly, I think that's pretty goddamn confusing too. And then my response to you, which I hope made sense to you, was you were saying like, oh my God, I'm learning about the difference between wax paper and parchment paper. And I was like, in some ways, it's kind of like learning about the different kinds of tapes.
I was
at first you're like,
different kinds of filament for and how I get obsessed with phone cases.
To me, the tape one is even better though, because you're like, okay, I get it. It's strips of paper or plastic that have adhesive. I think I can deal with the idea of tape, but like, can you? Like, do you know the difference, or like, do you understand when to use masking tape versus gaffer tape, which are different, versus duct tape versus like, or like the kind of like, I recently got some of that silver, like actual tape for ducts, the actual shiny kind from 3M, for heating and HVAC stuff. But but it's almost infinite how deep down that hole you can go. And let's just say I've got a lot of different kinds of tape in my life. And to just say somebody just go, hand me the tape, and you just give them like an old disused spool of scotch, that's not going to hold your apparatus together.
The my I don't really have a air fryer process at this point, because while I have all of I've got like my projects and I've got my paper, I have
I got my projects, I got my paper.
My air fryer is quote just 2 quarts, which I realized is very different than a lot of.
Let me see what mine is.
Wait, what's your?
Oh no, I'm going to go see what the cordage of mine is.
So, because it's one of those where you have you can't see what is happening. You can't see the air frying happening.
Mm-hmm. Mine is a 4-quart capacity.
Okay, all right. So you're like a double. That seems to be the average.
I have Ninja Air Fryer, 4-quart capacity, 4-in-1 roast, crisp, reheats and dehydrates dishwasher safe parts. Gray.
Oh, and that's another thing of what is. There's a difference between dishwasher safe and dishwasher ideal.
Oh, you should do a show. John Siracusa has a whole thing about that. Totally. Yeah. And dishwasher appropriate would be a good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not like dishwasher appropriate. That sounds like one of the little, as Billy used to call it, the tags at the beginning from Netflix. Smoking depictions, language, nudity.
I'm glad that there's language in the show.
I love language.
Words mean things. But it's hard to be intentional.
Includes 20 easy and healthy recipes. 20. You can never do all of them.
And mine came with I'll put it in notes. It's like the popular teensy one, but I think it's called like Gourmand. Ninja is a similar, Gourmand. It's like my favorite Pokemon. Wigglytuff, Jiggly.
Did they have a special bespoke? Is there a special Chunk? Oh, that's your Law and Order Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. Yes, He's
always unloading crates from the back of crates from the back of a truck when he's being questioned about a murder.
Man, to have that amount of confidence.
What happened to her? She was nice. Did something happen to her? Well, yes, you are talking to the murder police.
Gotta move the plywood.
You talking about the girls with pigtails? You know what I mean? Or people who use too many credit cards, smoke too many cigarettes, scratchy lottery tickets.
Doing a selective rewatch.
Fade to black. Executive producer Dick Wolf.
Listen,
I'm quoting John Mulaney.
I know. And he does a very good bit, but upon doing a selective rewatch,
He's done so many. He's found a way to turn his Law and Order bit into like 4 different bits. He's got the one about Jerry Orbach's eyes, which is a very early one. Jerry Orbach's eyes is a very funny one. There's the iced tea, funny cum in an ear or whatever. There's the person unloading off the back of the truck. He talks about Law and Order a lot in his early days. Yeah.
I heard.
Are you on a rewatch now? Where are you at?
I'm like season 4, episode 5. It
So
truly,
you're in
like,
Sam
just
Water.
jumped-
You're in Sam Waterson.
No, this is
SVU.
SVU.
The
So
sex one.
yes.
Olivia. Have you gotten to that one where the girl's on the plane? Remember that one? Olivia. Remember the girl on the plane with the phone?
Oh yeah.
That was a fucking weird episode of that show.
It's Olivia. This is sort of like logistics porn for me at this point. Oh, what a bad word to use with it. But because there are days where Olivia is a better social worker than a cop, like is trained better than most
very
social
blue
workers.
lights. Yeah.
And I'm like, what's happening? Because it's not. And then the next episode is like pure regular, like what we now call propaganda. And I'm like, who's doing this? And seeing the different writers and producers and just bouncing. Anyway, air fryers.
Right. Also, it's exciting who shows up on older episodes. Like just go and search for Law and Order, like people who, Sarah Paulson. Sarah Paulson, Margot Martindale. Like, oh God, what am I doing? I can't even begin. Like, it's
Marlee Matlin, always a bad. When you see Marlee Matlin show up, at this point, she's almost always a villain.
Have you ever made a point of pulling up the Pedro Pascal appearance?
I don't think so.
It may be very important that you look for Pedro Pascal. I believe Law and Order.
It's really Casey Liss's fault with Call Sheet at how easy it is. Oh God,
It's a good app.
I just go and look for all of the Alex Cabot episodes too, and just oh man.
Wait. Is she the blonde?
Yes, she is.
She's
the
my
one.
type. She's so my type.
She and Olivia Benson. If
Do you know the scene? Do you know what I'm talking about? There's a little girl who's apparently it's a hostage on an airplane and talking to Olivia, who's the only person that she can trust. And Olivia, God damn it, just wants to save. She's got her leather jacket. She's in full Olivia mode. God damn it. And she just wants to save this little girl. Olivia.
And you can tell often how successful she'll be based on the length of her hair or just like the
like the Elaine
type of
thing.
haircut she has.
Is longer hair better?
Longest currently, yes, but usually
I think of her with a shag, like a kind of modified Florence Henderson shaglet. I think of that as being a pretty competent era for her.
Competent for a cop, but when she is like young and butch, she doesn't really know how to be a cop, but she's great at talking to women like they're people, which is kind of something that goes downhill weirdly.
Do that on your own time, Benson.
Yeah. They say that. Also in real life,
Scratchy lottery tickets.
They say,
and wait, is her partner the guy from Wet Hot? That's Christopher Maloney most of the time?
Yes, Christopher Maloney. He is the one who
Can you believe he's in comedy? Isn't that so wild?
Yeah. And he's
gotta peel them
funny.
taters.
I think he's really funny. Yeah.
He's really funny in that movie.
Can.
Oh my God, the can of vegetables. Wait, and who's the voice? Oh, H. John Benjamin, right? Is the voice of the can of vegetables. That's such a weird movie.
It's beautiful.
I kind of feel like it's been good the whole time, but it continues to get better. And then when you're like, oh man, you know what? Paul Rudd, actually everybody is great in this movie. Bradley, what's his head? From
Bradley Cooper.
From the Madame Gaga movie. Yes.
Yes.
He's got him and Michael Ian Black.
Talk about a movie exploring trauma through comedy and masculinity and femininity.
Remember when they're sitting around talking about when they're going to have their reunion?
Yes.
Why don't you just make it your beeswax to be there on time? And they're like, what are we doing at 11? He says, I can't. I already have something. In the future. What a great cast. Day by day, oh dear Lord. Oh man, and with the Inside Kids, the Cure Girl, oh my God. What'd say?
Air fryers are great.
The indoor kids. Yeah, I use mine a lot.
The indoor kid.
Remember, because David Hyde Pierce. David Hyde Pierce is asking where, like, what do you say? Like, do you think there might be some kids here who would be interested in doing science experiments on the last day of camp? And the kids are like, oh. He goes, where are the How does he say? He's like, where are they? The indoor kids. Ladies, I am a 13th level dungeon master. Oh my god, that insane that when this is so like fucking those two guys who made that movie. When they go to town and like it escalates from cigarettes to beer to shooting heroin, Amy Poehler shooting heroin. Oh my god. And then they come back and everything's fine. It's been 1 hour. See, that's good dumb humor. That's very good dumb humor. Paul Rudd. Oh my god, Paul Rudd is so good in that.
National treasure. You should.
You smell like burger, and I don't like you. Was always says you smell like a burger.
I think so.
Oh my God. Elizabeth Banks is so cute in that movie. I love her. And then she went on to, she did Cocaine Bear and a Pitch Perfect movie.
Didn't she do all the? Oh no, she was in all the pitch.
Yes.
Yeah. She directed the one
Two
that.
or three, I think. Three?
You know what? Every movie is a success and a miracle that it even got
Absolutely.
made. And that's what I will say about that.
Oh, just getting anything off the ground. Criminy.
Oh, I have podcast recommendation. It is called What Went Wrong, and it is based.
Whoa! Slow down here. Whoa! Wait.
Yep.
What? Whoa! I like this. That you're telling me things. Okay.
There's a podcast
suggestion.
Doug, What Went Wrong, which is
went wrong. www.
And you. I was like, I don't want another thing about like, haha, let's recap the bad movie.
Oh, it's about media that's floppy.
No, it is not.
Okay.
It's not the which that is a genre that I have enjoyed, but this is about all of the things that went wrong in a piece of media that ultimately usually was very successful. It's just going over like all of the like wild things that had to.
Maybe would a famous example be something like maybe the way Hearts of Darkness shows you Apocalypse Now, right?
Yes, they. Where
you're like, wait. So just so I understand, the Philippine helicopters took off in the middle of one of the most costly shots to stage of all time, so they had to go fight a war. And then a hurricane came and destroyed the entire set. And then, wait a minute, let me understand this. So, and then what's his name? Martin Sheen. Like that was him actually drunk and punching the mirror. And you're like, yeah. Francis was just egging him on. He was writing pages every day with no shirt on, with his big Italian titties out. And Eleanor made a great movie out of it. She's fucking great. She just passed a little while ago.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so what went wrong? That's interesting.
Yes, you might enjoy Merlin. Not going to be unseemly and address the audience, but this is not homework for you. But you might enjoy one that almost all of them are movies, but this is about what went wrong with the pilot of Game of Thrones, which is
we talked about. That's Alex. We last night's member episode on Rectifs was Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and I specifically talked about a behind-the-scenes thing I watched where D&D or whatever, Benioff and Weiss are talking about. They're like, oh my god, the scene, where Ned is done in. It's like, oh my god, we were totally out of budget. We had this tiny little, completely fake King's Landing, and we had to use CG to make the buildings look taller. That kind of stuff. Like they were really out of budget by the end, right?
By the end of the pilot,
really
they were called into a meeting.
All those dire wolves CGI. You know how expensive that was to make a dire wolf puppy? Woof woof.
They're apparently still upset. And after reading the books, I am like, oh wow. They kind of just blew it with this one. The people on set who had read the book, like, no, you don't understand. No one has seen a dire wolf in thousands of years. Just found a fucking dinosaur, people, and they're like puppies, and it's a very enjoyable scene when you like it.
I referred to it specifically as what I ended up saying to Siracusa was that the stuff that I do actually like about Lord of the Rings and Hobbit is what Night of the Seven Kingdoms gets right. like all the warm fuzzies of the fantasy world that I'm not typically that into. I thought they did such a nice job with it. But in that case, I was like, and that's the thing though, is like what frustrates, well, a lot of people have a lot of frustrations with Game of Thrones, but a lot of the frustration, I mean, here's one, like, hey, weren't the Night King and his dudes supposed to be like a much bigger deal? Like, wasn't that the whole point of the show was that, and then like, there's just all these things where you're like, oh, and then Bran comes out and he waves his arm and everything's fine and everybody's friends. And you're like, wait a minute, there were so many things set up in this. And if you go back to the beginning and go like, in that case, like John Wolfe, he gets the bonus dog.
Mm-hmm. Basically,
he gets the best dog too.
Special dinosaur, and
it's got red eyes. Alex, his name's Ghost.
Oh, what to it? But I think what ultimately makes Benioff and White very successful is even the
they surround themselves with people who do all their work and don't ask for credit.
Okay, well, and
I've heard some stuff.
Which is also why I like this podcast that focuses, not like widens the scope of like, oh my God, they had to replace Daenerys, and these casting.
Oh, like, really?
Yeah. I forget who
Daenerys. You talking about Daenerys Stormborn?
Yes. Mm-hmm,
yeah. The Mother of Dragons? The
Mother of Dragons was almost just, a baron. We almost didn't get that shot of, the shot.
Her brother just really wants that crown. He's not leaving without his gold crown. Crown for the king. That was my Khal Drogo impersonation. Want to hear it again?
Wait.
Crown for the king.
Because the other, there's... Did
you know that kid, that the guy who plays her brother is in one of the best episodes of Doctor Who?
Which episode?
Family of Blood.
Oh. Oh my God. See,
do you remember the one with the creepy one with the scarecrow people and Martha? And he has to be hidden away. It's also the one with what's her name? Oh, who's the actress? I can never remember. Verity.
See, eventually
the one who becomes Verity. Oh God, this is so gay. This is all so gay. But that kid, he's so intense in that, Family of Mine or whatever, like their weird little family has that creepy like head crook thing. Remember, they have to hide him from the master. So they have to take away the doctor's ability to know he's the doctor.
Yeah. Oh, don't tell me.
It's not Smith and Jones, right? It's Family of Blood. I think Family of Blood. It's a two-parter. It's one of the classic two-parters. I think it's a very good episode. And then you meet that woman. Is her name Jessica, the woman from Spaced that I like so much? She becomes Verity. Remember the teacher that David Tennant's doctor falls in love with? But then he has to go. And then in David Tennant's last episode, he meets her like super granddaughter at the book signing.
Yes. Oh,
and remember he says, I'm going to cry. He says to her, was she happy?
They did Bicentennial Man, but well, and in that they weren't creepy about.
I was almost crying and now I'm angry. What? Jesus Christ.
What? No.
Is that the Robin Williams movie?
Yes. Okay. He's the robot.
And he's somebody. He's somebody who comes to life every 200 years. Is that right?
Basically, yes.
Oh wait, I was making a joke. Is that real?
Yes.
Oh shit. I have a recommendation for you.
Yes.
I hope that this will be on YouTube soon. I watched this on Nebula, New Philosophy Tube.
I have Nebula. It's queued up.
Okay. I recommend to our listeners, if you've got Nebula, and I imagine anyway, it'll eventually be on, but watch the latest Philosophy Tube on Nebula. It's very thought-provoking about a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing. There's a famous recent episode of Technology Connections where everybody's kind of agreed not to talk about who Luke's father is, because you get the most impact out of it by not knowing what's coming at the end. And but I'm going to spoil this by saying the second half of this is about a very intelligent approach to a certain sort of advocacy. And the first half of it is an absolutely stunning presentation on why you might want to consider a certain kind of advocacy. And it's very well done.
It's got a good thumbnail.
Everybody's got their reasons. And we're not talking about computers, but I used Downy to download it. And I had several agents prepare me a detailed bibliography and it actually did screen grabs. Every time she mentions something, it shows the citation on screen. So I built a script that went through, it grabbed all the citations, and I have an MLA9 bibliography of every book and article mentioned in it if you want it.
After show. After show. Patreon.com.
I feel like I know her name. Don't tell me. It's not Abigail. I can do this. No, it's not Abigail. What's her name?
Yes. Abigail Thorne. Philosophy Tube? Yes. Abigail
That's a
Thorne.
great name.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, Abigail Thorne. It does sound like someone English. If you wanted to demonstrate your Englishness, it would be like being named like Sir Vainglorious Pockbottom. Well, I don't know. I mean, some kind of one of those fucking Dickens names. You're a Dickens name.
Because Cox, guys.
Hello. What's all this? Where's your papers?
Hey.
Aye.
I've dinged so many times. I'm breaking the bell.